Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tea time. Today I'm drinking lemon echinacea throat coat tea because my voice is absolutely fried. What's this? A wild community feedback update? I'd like to start by saying that this is awesome. We are getting consistent feedback. The amount of feedback and communication that's going on right now between Blizzard and the community is amazing. There was even an interview that Lycan did with David Kim, and David Kim like, this is great. We want the community to be involved in making Legacy of the Void better. And instead of that being an empty statement where the community is completely left in the dark, it's actually a real tangible thing and we can all feel good about it. Man, let's get on to the specifics. Firstly, this is a beta. Thank you. Excellent. Good. Moving on. This is so good. Snipe doesn't have any fucking counterplay. Now David Kim is like, you know what? Snipe doesn't have any fucking counterplay. That's what happened. That's what this whole thing, this whole section right here, this whole, I forgot what side I put it on, wherever it is, that's what it, right? There's no counterplay to Snipe, and it's not interesting, and there's nothing for the other player to do except for hope that the Snipe didn't go off or try to stay out of range, which is not really interesting. The armor drone does have the potential for some interesting interactions. They know more testing is needed, yes, but they're keeping an eye out. One thing that I saw that I thought was really cool was the penetrator round. It made up the top of Reddit, and it's sort of like this line shot where the line appears, and it's like, oh, you got to move out of the way, and it's sort of like interesting. Oh, you got to split, you got to move out of the way. Oh man, that's cool. I thought that was pretty neat, and I think it does kind of fulfill the role of Snipe that they're saying here. The new medevac upgrade. This has gotten a lot of feedback of like, why would you buff this when it's already so strong? And they're explaining why, which is cool. Let's get to that. So the overall idea here is that splash damage against bio has been buffed, the Ultralisks and the Lurkers, for Zerg. And then the Disruptor, I really like that they don't just say, and the Disruptor. They really sort of say here, we don't really know where the Disruptor is right now, but we want it to be powerful against bio. Which is interesting, because I feel like bio with medevac specifically just sort of like, you pick up and you're good. Especially the sort of really strong harass bio play. I'm thinking particularly about TVP, just this massive harass, just going back and forth, Polt in the WCS, just really showing how powerful that style can be. Very recently, today, upon this recording, I don't know if I'm gonna release this video today, but it's really powerful against Protoss, and I don't think Protoss has a whole lot of strong options against it. And the Disruptor, I was thinking, oh wait, what about Legacy of the Void? How is this play changing in Legacy of the Void? And I don't really think it's changing very much in Legacy of the Void. So making the medevac even stronger is going to seriously mess with the TVP matchup, I feel. So either, you know, something has to happen. If the Disruptor is going to be one of these things that will help defend against drops, maybe some damage against air, I don't really know. I don't know exactly how it would be dealt with, but I feel like it's not the best unit for dealing with drop play, and this particular upgrade is something that makes drop play stronger. So I'm seeing this tip things in the scale of Terran. And I'm interested to see what they do to Protoss, or what they do to this upgrade to change that around. It'll be definitely pretty interesting to see. Next, Disruptor update. They're trying some internal stuff with the Disruptor. So making it so it deals less damage per hit, but you're able to pull it back easier. Because it stays in this mode where it's immortal, you know, that's a bad word to use, right? It's invulnerable for longer, which is interesting. I think that's what they mean by phased out mode, because they're talking about it being more increased in survivability. So I think they're phased out means that it is still invulnerable, which means you can like hit, pull back, get closer to your warp prism, so you can more easily pick it up from a more safe distance. One concern they have is the Disruptor could feel too difficult to kill. Fair enough. I think particularly, more than anything else, is the idea of increasing the amount of time that unit is invulnerable makes, like we talked about counterplay before, it makes even less counterplay available for the Disruptor, which I think is not particularly great. The splitting against the Disruptor, I think, is really interesting. Managing the variables so that that is a challenging thing to do, but not an impossible thing for a human being to do. Managing those variables to get it in the right place, that's great. But the whole pulling back the Disruptor afterward, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like there are a lot of counterplay options available for the person being disrupted. Passive versus active abilities. Yes, David Kim. David Kim. You have my heart, David Kim. This is exactly what I spent a long time, wrote a really long article on the analysis of all of the abilities in StarCraft, specifically how they have counterplay or don't have counterplay, how they allow players to show their skill and their visual intuitiveness, which are all sort of I feel and has been said by Blizzard, they're sort of goals for abilities or things in StarCraft, more visual, micro on both sides, which is what counterplay is, all that kind of stuff. And the main point of that article was to bring out the idea of it's not about too many active abilities, it's about specifics. It's about this specific thing. I have an idea for it. And I think in general, this is something that we've seen from Blizzard pretty repetitively, which is the idea of like washing the board with damage point is not something we're interested in. We want specific arguments for specific units. And the same thing is here with active abilities. We want specific arguments for specific abilities that you think should be removed or you think should be changed or replaced or whatever it might be. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for specifics. So the idea of going with this vague strategy of saying, hey, Blizzard, we think this needs to change in a major, vague, across the board kind of way is not really going to be a good approach for the community people trying to facilitate change in StarCraft. So for those of you investing time in writing articles, making videos, that kind of stuff, your time will be better spent, basically, what they're saying here and what they've been saying, looking for something very specific, analyzing it deeply, presenting evidence and ideas, and then saying, hey, Blizzard, here, I have this idea. Please take a look at it. And they will. Nice. This is something that I've been kind of vocal about, and I'm going to continue to be vocal about it. The idea of a medevac picking up a siege tank takes away the immobility of the siege tank for APM, which is okay. That's a trade, right? But the siege tank's identity is this, all right, you turn to siege mode, it is this powerful thing. But in that power is also its weakness in which it cannot move. And the other player takes advantage of that, when the army's moving across the map, the siege tanks aren't in their most powerful mode. So you take advantage of that by attacking, flanking, surrounding before they get sieged up, when to siege. All of these things I think are really sort of deep strategy decisions that are really cool, tactical decisions really, more than anything else, that are really cool. And I feel like medevacs picking up siege tanks in general, it takes away from that identity. And as a result, they're going to have to make the siege tank less strong, which is what we're seeing here as they say, we're exploring potential ways to tone down the siege tank without nerfing it too much, which is, oh man, which makes me really scared. I have a lot of trust in the balance team for StarCraft. They do a really great job. So I think it's going to be fine balance-wise in the long term, right? Before when Legacy Void comes about, this will be a well-balanced thing. I'm sure that that's going to be the case, but it hurts me a little bit. I feel like it takes away from the identity of the siege tank, and I'd much rather see something like give the siege tank more damage, but get rid of the overkill prevention on the siege tank. I think that would be a much more interesting move for the siege tank. It would make more counterplay, more interesting options. It's not the kind of super high-paced action that I think Blizzard is going for, but I think it's good to have the siege tank kind of action where it's like, whoa, that's a siege tank. It's locking down this area of terrain. They're going to have to do some really cool micro stuff to get past that. Blinding clouds. If they don't have overkill prevention, then it's sort of like, okay, so see this formation, this battle formation that the Zerg player is setting up. What that's going to do is going to draw shots away from the initial wave of attacks, allowing the main force to close it. Cool stuff like that, I think is, while it's not right in your face action packed, I think it really brings a lot of depth to the game, and it's very, I love it. It's a personal thing for me. I have a lot of personal bias for it. With my particular affiliation with the Brood War Siege Tank, I really like it. So I would really hope that that is the direction the siege tank takes. In any case, the next part really is what gets me on this, is because their suggestion is, I'm going to read this directly. This week, we're trying a version where the pickup is instant, but the tank still stays in siege mode. When this type of tank is dropped, the tank itself needs time to set up at that new location. This way, there's a bit of delay before firing each shot, and the medevac is still free to move around since both the pickup and drop down on this side is instant. So basically what you're saying is you're going to pick up the siege tank in siege mode, you're going to drop it down in siege mode, and it won't be able to move, but it's going to need time to set up, which sounds awfully familiar to me, like you pick it up in siege mode, when you drop it, it's in tank mode. I feel like this is like a really roundabout way of getting to that. Except when the siege tank is dropped, it won't be able to be mobile right away. And I feel like if you just have it so that the siege tank is picked up in siege mode, dropped in tank mode, it's much more interesting, because now you can say, all right, it's pick up in siege mode, now it's dropped, you can move it back. The Terran player has a lot more options that way. And I really just think this is sort of a roundabout way to get to something that was already an idea. So I'm trying to think of, and please let me know in the comments, I'm trying to think of what is gained by executing the pickup drop the way that has been suggested, as in it's picked up in siege, it's dropped in siege, but after you drop a tank in siege, there's this extra delay time, and then it fires. Compared to you pick it up in siege mode and you drop it in tank mode. For this pick it up in siege, drop it in tank mode, I feel like it's a lot more visually intuitive. I feel like it's a lot more just intuitive in general, sort of like, oh, okay, oh, it's in tank mode. I know it needs to be set up, turn back into siege mode to fire. I know that takes a certain amount of time. Whereas the other way is just sort of, you pick it up, you drop it, and it's sort of like, why is it not firing? It almost feels like a glitch. Like when I drop my siege mode, like there has to be some sort of visual thing there. There has to be some sort of visual indication to make that intuitive, if that's the way it ends up happening. In any case, that is sort of my spiel on the siege tank. That is all. And finally, the Archon mode suggestion of being able to tell who controls what. There seem to be changing their minds on that after reading some community feedback, which is great. And then different strategy threads in the Overlord drop, and they're happy about it, and it's cool. And shout out to JaKaTaKtv, because they're awesome. Specifically because their uptime on stream is really impressive. Base Trade's phenomenal. They've been phenomenal for a long time. It's always good to see them getting credit where they deserve it, which is, pretty much everywhere. My name is JaKaTaK, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have an idea that you would like me to make into a video, please leave it, along with any other questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything beginning with the letter C in the comment section below. And I'll see you again soon.